What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Sunday edition of the Pandemic Update for Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on all things COVID and any other virus that could be a threat to you. If you want to keep yourself informed, or maybe help keep others informed, subscribe to my channel down below, give this a thumbs up, and of course, share these videos with anyone you know. Alright, today we are going to do something a little bit different. CDC changed the COVID guidelines on Friday. We'll get more into that in just a moment. I thought today I would give you, well, it was supposed to be 10 reasons, and it's very hard to narrow down reasons. I thought today I would give you 12 reasons as to why these guideline changes just really don't make any sense, and 12 reasons why COVID is still a big threat to you. It may be a little bit more than 12. We'll see here. I got quite a few things up on the screen, and it's really hard to narrow down 12 reasons, let alone the original theme that I was going to do, 10 reasons. Let's start off with the guideline change. Let's just read a little excerpt from this article. It says, Americans can return to public life if they have been fever-free for at least 24 hours and symptoms are improving, regardless of a positive test. Agency officials told reporters on Friday, when they return to normal activities, the CDC recommends people use preventative strategies for the next 5 days. This includes limiting close contact with others, enhancing hygiene like hand washing, improving ventilation, masking, and testing as needed. Okay, already we have some problems with that. Let's continue on here, and I'll show you something that's wrong with that. This is a tweet on X from Dr. Lucky Tran. How long are you contagious with COVID-19? Look at this. Most people are infectious for 10 days. Okay, 10 days. So that's 10 days they could go out and about and, be spreading it to other people. Maybe they have been fever-free. Well, let's read on. 80% of the people test positive for 5 days after symptom onset. So the 5-day rule, we know the majority of the people were testing positive for 5 days. Only 30% of people who test positive, it's right here, only 30% of the people who test positive have a fever. So, okay, only 30% of the people are testing positive, have a fever. Guess what? That means the fever-free rule, throw that out the window. That's no good. Persistence or presence of symptoms is an unreliable indicator of infectiousness. Yeah, that's right. So if you're testing positive on one of these rapid tests, which most people, let's face it, most people use rapid tests these days. If you're testing positive on one and it's showing up positive like that, like right away, but you don't have a fever, well, guess what? Under CDC guidelines, you can go out. But with you testing positive so quickly like that, that means that you are still contagious and shedding virus big time. Let's read on. Now, these guidelines are for you and me. However, there is an exception to every rule. Let's go to the White House website, and let's come down here and read something. Haha. So if you're going out in public, you follow those guidelines. But let's say you were going to visit the White House. The White House will continue to closely monitor the COVID-19 situation, with guidance based on recommendations from the CDC and other public health officials and medical experts, and reserves the right to adjust availability of the public tours as necessary to adhere to the latest health guidance. Within 10 days prior to the public tour, anyone who has tested positive for COVID-19, has had any COVID-19 symptoms, or been in close contact with someone confirmed or suspected to have COVID-19, should stay home. Face masks will be available when entering the White House complex for those who choose to wear them. Again, the White House is not following CDC. They say 10 days. Let's go back to what Dr. Lucky Tran tweeted. Most people are infectious for 10 days. The White House is going based off of that motto right there. Very interesting, eh? Let's continue on. Now we're going to go through a bunch of studies. The majority of these you can find on my website. There is one or two within here that you may not be able to find. I'll try and add it. I'm going to be working on the archives of COVID studies later this afternoon. But look at this. COVID transmission. 1,000 times more likely from air versus surfaces. So you see all these places. They have hand sanitizer sitting out. They're saying, wash your hands. Or you see a public messaging that says, hand washing is very important. Really? We go back to this is from May of 2022. This is going way back. COVID transmission, 1,000 times more likely from the air versus surfaces. Those face masks that we wear. Yeah, N95s, like these right here, more effective than washing your hands. That's right. If you wear a face mask, you have a better chance of not getting infected. But guess what? Do that and wash your hands because, it is good to practice proper hygiene. You should always have clean hands. Like if you're using the restroom or something, please always wash your hands. But when it comes to COVID, masking is your most important tool. Masking plus the vax plus clean air. Okay? Moving on, there's more reasons why going out, letting COVID spread, potentially, increasing the risk of people getting infected is bad. Look at this. This is going back to, I posted this on my site on August 8th of 2023. A new study finds that brain function can be affected by COVID years after infection. This is not the first time we've seen a study like this, and it makes it more clear that COVID can have a big impact on the brain. All right, let's take a look at this. Those who struggled most with the brain test also reported COVID-19 symptoms lasting for 12 weeks or more. So allowing people to go out while they are still infectious, which potentially increases the risk of others becoming infected, could lead to someone getting infected and eventually going on to having brain problems. Let's continue on. Study. Long COVID kept people out of work for months. Going out being infectious, letting people, become infected in an office setting. Let's say an office outbreak occurs because of the new CDC guidelines. Now, I should give you a full disclaimer. Most people were not following what the CDC says anyhow, and they were doing the, you do you can go out and do whatever you want, and so it's just a cough, blah, blah, blah. But, hey, here's one of the consequences of that. You get an office outbreak, okay? Say you have a heavy workload right now. Office outbreak happens. Say just 20% of the people who got infected go on to get long COVID. Well, study shows some of them could be kept out of work for months. Guess what? Your office productivity is going down because you did not take proper measures and CDC had failed guidelines. Continuing on, let's take a look at this now. Study results links COVID-19 to a higher risk of cardiovascular disease and death. Ooh, that's not good. But hey, let's let more people get infected. Continuing on here. COVID can cause long-term damage to lungs, brain, and kidney, study finds. Well, I can tell you that from experience. I have a tiny spot on my lungs. It hasn't grown, it's remained stable, but I did not have that before COVID. And you might be able to hear it today. Some days I have congested voice when I'm talking. There is nothing I can do to stop that. It just randomly happens on some days. Today is one of those days. But hey, go out and let more people get infected. Because hey, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, they're doing such a great job controlling disease. Alright, look at this. COVID can cause long-term damage to lungs, brain, and kidneys, study finds. Well, that's not good. Continuing on. COVID can increase the risk of developing diabetes by 22%. Up to 22%, a Canadian study shows. That's not good. And we must not forget our seniors. Elderly with Omicron, pneumonia, and bacterial infection often have functional decline a year later. Well, we know pneumonia can be caused by COVID. That's not good. Let's just continue on. COVID behind thousands of excess U.S. death analysis shows. What's this trying to say? Well, we know for a fact that the deaths in the United States are a significant undercount. So they're basing the one of the things that they did in the guidelines when they're reasoning, they talked about excess deaths. And they said, well, excess deaths are stable, so on. Not in all age groups. Excess deaths, they are still a big problem, meaning there are more deaths than we actually know about from COVID at this time. Canadian study finds COVID measures were effective in reducing cases, hospitalizations, and mortality rate. Well, if everything was working so well, why must we loosen up all these guidelines? Why must we give the virus the upper hand? I'll tell you why. Because there's the economy. They want the economy to flow again. They want people back to work as quick as possible after testing positive. Therefore, guess what? CDC is caving into the corporate world. All right, continuing on. New study shows risk of seizures rises in 6 months after COVID-19. Yikes, that's not good. But hey, the CDC says if your symptoms are starting to lessen, guess what? You can go out and about. And as we know, with everything I just showed, even just a mild case can cause this to happen. Oh, look, continuing on with what I just showed you. Look at this. A bout of COVID-19, even a milder one, may raise the risk of having a seizure in the next 6 months, a large new study suggests. But yet the CDC says you should go out and about if your symptoms are getting better and live your life. Just totally ridiculous. I'm not trying to joke when I say that, but yeah, it's very serious. And remember how I said, man, it was hard to pick just a couple of reasons? Yeah, it's hard to pick 10 reasons, let alone 12. I mean, this is just the miscellaneous section of studies on my site. There's a lot of different studies. Okay, what am I trying to get at here? I just showed you a bunch of reasons why the new CDC guidance is not very good. Let's face it, going out, letting other people get infected, or, well, on the whim chance that they may wear a mask while they're still infected with COVID, going out, letting people do whatever they want to do while infected with COVID, it's really dangerous. It's something that shouldn't be. These guidelines, they're wrong. If you test positive for COVID, please stay home until you test negative. If you don't get paid sick leave, I get it. You have to go to work. And if you do, please do whatever you can. Limit your contact with other people. Wear a proper N95 or better mask. Do whatever it is you have to do to limit the spread of your case to other people. And do whatever you can to keep yourself from getting infected. All these things I just mentioned, they're really bad things, and they're really a risk to your health. I mean, it's not good. Who wants to have seizures? Who wants to have diabetes risk? Who wants to have brain damage? Who wants to have lung issues? No one wants any of that stuff. Well, you can prevent it from happening, not just with COVID. With any virus, you can prevent it from happening by doing some safe precautions, such as masking, clean air, yes, even hand washing, because let's face it, hand washing is good for bacterial disease. But really, just staying in isolation when you test positive for a virus is really key to limiting it from spreading to others. By allowing this virus to continue to spread to other people, guess what we're doing? We're allowing it to mutate. Already, there are subvariants of the JN.1 variant. There's already new ones out there. Do we know if they're going to take off and become a new wave? No, we don't know that, but guess what? There's potential for something to pop up at any given time. The more we try and keep ourselves safe, the more we try and keep infections down, the better off we will be. These new guidelines, why I don't think they're going to cause an immediate surge, I definitely think that it increases the risk of you getting infected, and it decreases your safety when you're out in the public. Now more than ever, you can go out and say, well, you know what? How do I know that the person standing next to me in line is not currently positive and infected for COVID? It's true. That person coughing next to you in the grocery store checkout could be positive for COVID because of these failed new guidelines. And guess what? You could be one of the unlucky people that comes down with any of these reasons that I just listed here, any of these studies. And this is just a few. As you can see here on my site, there are several others. Alrighty, if you feel that this proves that the CDC guidelines are a bunch of hogwash and incorrect, give this a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. If you know anyone that needs to see this, because they need a wake-up call of just what one COVID infection, even mild COVID infection, can do to you, then by all means, share this with anyone you know. Because guess what? I think there's a heck of a lot of people that need wake-up calls. All these people saying it's over, this doesn't happen, or, oh, it's the vax causing it. That's the one that really gets to me the most. A lot of these things that we talked about here today that can be caused by a COVID infection started before the vaccine. Long COVID came before the vaccine. Long COVID started in 2020. The minute people started getting infected, long COVID became a thing. Alrighty, folks, I will see you all again tomorrow. Until I see you again tomorrow, have a fantastic Sunday afternoon, and stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching. Take care.